how do you see the interest rate hikes and inflation increases affecting the mobile home park industry as of October 2022? I just want to date it because we're in a very special environment right now. But in terms of the deals you're underwriting right now, Jared, in terms of the deals you're looking at, how is that affecting you? How are you also adjusting the increased rent lot increases that you would have done probably pre 2022 and what you're looking to do now across the board?
Yes, good question. I wish I had a crystal ball. But what I can see, I want to, as a reminder, I find that there's safety in a long-term approach. So what I try to do is focus on value, which for me, it's real estate. So location, location, location. The safety is in the housing value. If there is long-term growth in that area, you know, the interest rates are short-term. They're going to go up, they're going to go down, they're going to go up, they're going to go down. So this is an area where I you know, the market, the price of any property is going to be set by the market. And I think right now people are looking for places for their money. So it seems to me that it's a tough time to predict, but cap rates are still pretty low. I think what that's doing is it's actually cooling it down in a good way. Seeing, I think smaller operators, the more aggressive, perhaps the too aggressive operators are having to calm down a little bit. I think the other side of it is the people who can keep staying are larger entities that have more complex capital structures, lower cost of capital. And where I'm trying to fit into this is just being strategic. Again, it's not that I love my market. I'm not married to my market. If I thought that long-term there's growth in a market and I could get quality deals and I have the same benefits, then I'm not that concerned about the interest rate. So yeah, long-term.
So you're not seeing much. It's interesting in the apartment building space, there's definitely a big slowdown right now in terms of deals getting done and deals getting repriced down. So it's interesting that you're saying that in the mobile home park space, you're not really seeing that.
My understanding is it is cooling down and the prices are coming down, but to me, they're still really expensive. I think I paid more than I want to pay less every time, I guess, but it was hard for me to pay what I paid, like the $80,000 per pad. It was hard for me to pay. The only way that I could justify it was saying, in 20 years, where's this going to be? And I felt it was a no-brainer there. I like the ride from here to there, even though the next couple of years it might be a little bit tight. Part of the reason why they have $80,000 price per pads in this area is because you can get interest-only debt. So, you can kind of take care of your cash flow, your return on your cash on cash for the next couple of years. But again, it's longer term, where are you going to be? If I'm planning to sell in 5 years, I'm sweating. 3 years, I'm sweating.
So, okay, I guess the second part of the question, I kind of find it even more interesting. How are you approaching rent increases this year with this environment?
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to answer that part of the question. Rent increases is also something that is set by the market. When we do rent increases with property managers, I'm going over with them. Look, we've got to understand our cost of operation, and our cost of operation might be going up due to inflation. But at the end of the day, that doesn't, just because our cost of operation goes up, that doesn't mean that we can raise the rent anywhere. If we want to remain competitive, we've got to stay within the market. I think if you're doing your job, if you're doing C level work, your expenses should be in line with the market. And so Pennsylvania, for example, has something that other states, not all states have, which is you can't, no matter what your lease says, even if it's month to month, you can't raise the rent more than once per year. So what I said, I do have to sit with for a year. But again, I'm trying to stay competitive within the market. You'll see, this actually brings me back to your previous question about how to sniff out long-term and short-term holders. Short-term holders, the short-term hold has no problem putting their rent above market. And it comes back to the tenant quality. Because if the rent is above market, why would somebody apply to live there in that community? The reason why is because they won't get approved at the community with the lower rent. So if you're a short-term flip, you don't mind. You got a criminal background, it doesn't matter. You have poor history of payments, doesn't matter. As long as you'll be in here for a short period of time, you'll bump up our rent roll. So again, I'm still trying to stay competitive and keep my tenant quality steady, because that's going to remain steady long-term.
So right now, you're not looking around the market and seeing, 15, 20% rent increases in your market?
15 or 20. I don't have the percentage. We have, it's maybe 2 months ago, we completed our sort of market study. The rent raises did grow nominally compared to what the average, there was a time when it was $10 a year, it would go up. For this area, that was common. 20, yeah, and I've seen some 25, some 30s, and there's some outliers usually that have been acquired where they'll do 50 or 100. So I'll take that into account and basically say, how can I remain competitive? How high can I push it to stay within market and but still remain competitive? A lot of times the more aggressive operators, the out of states, they'll push the rent so high that it creates a nice pocket for me to move into, because I'm running a better product, and they've just pushed the rent ceiling so high. So now I can kind of come comfortably into that, where I can say, hey, we're significantly at least $50, $100, $200 below them, but we're property managers who care.
Gotcha. Is there like a sweet spot you try to go to maximize the revenue, but stay under a certain amount of the rent leaders, market rent leaders?
Good question. I don't think I can give you an answer. I don't have a high certainty level. I think I'm still kind of a novice on this, but I try to think about things such as you got to adjust for amenities. So sometimes there's like a gym and a pool and a big clubhouse. For something like that, I want to keep, if I'm just a no frills, like you've got a yard and that's it. I want to keep, at least in my head, it's about 200 to 250, because I think there's a lot of people who will say, I'd rather save 250. I'm not going to use the pool. I'm not going to use the clubhouse or the gym. So I kind of use that as a padding there. I'd say that would be, I guess, the rule of thumb. I don't want to, because when people are coming into the market, they're gonna see that. They're gonna see these big amenities. So I want to stay safely away from there. There's usually some mom and pops in a market that are way below. They're like the outliers on the bottom. Typically, it's because they've been in it. They have no mortgages. They've been in it 30 years. They paid off their mortgage. They've become too friendly with their residents, in my opinion. So they say, hey, our cash flow is good, and we're not gonna push the rent. So you have to take that into account as well. And as usual, somewhere in the middle is a good place to be.